Studies show that nearly half the population is introverted, yet there seems to be this invisible pressure to be more social, to be more outgoing, and to be more outspoken. Of course, no one may be physically forcing you to be more extroverted, but we can see plenty of examples, or even we can draw from our own experiences of how opportunities are often given to those who are. And so, in a way, it seems like society tends to favor extroversion, or at least characteristics that we generally associate with extroverts. And as a result, sometimes it can feel like being an introvert isn't valued, but that cannot be more wrong. Welcome back to the It Girl Playbook. Today we will be exploring the power of introverts. The main difference between extroverts and introverts isn't about who's shy and who's outgoing. It's about energy. Extroverts gain energy from social interactions, while introverts often feel their social battery drain in those same social interactions. That doesn't make introversion a weakness. In fact, when you understand it and you understand your natural strengths, it can be one of your biggest advantages. The problem is that we've been conditioned to see extroverted qualities as the quote-unquote gold standard. We see people that are outspoken, outgoing, more popular, and we associate them with being magnetic and being very charming. Let's take Gossip Girl as an example. Serena is seen as a more extroverted, outgoing type of character, and it seems to open doors for her without her even trying, reflecting how incredible being extroverted is. She really played out that it's not what you know, it's who you know type of mindset, and the power of that, and how effortlessly she seemed to attract all the opportunities. But there is a charm and there is value even if you don't naturally share those qualities either. Take a look at Blair. She definitely did not share a lot of the more social qualities that Serena did, but Blair was incredibly charming in her own ways. One that came with depth, one that came with focus, and with intentionality rather than constantly socializing. The same applies to you. Instead of focusing on the qualities that you don't share with extroverts, recognize the unique strengths and advantages that you naturally possess as an introvert. Let's start with one that's often overlooked but incredibly powerful: listening. Learn to leverage your listening skills. If people tell you how much they love talking to you, but you feel like in a conversation you're never really saying that much, this is probably a compliment to your ability to make people feel heard. It's comforting, it's validating, and for some, even flattering. You may not be inclined to be outgoing or outspoken, but my oh my, are introverts good listeners? And being a good listener holds so much value in conversations. This is something that I never really realized about myself, let alone appreciated, but now I'm making an active effort to really lean into that. Some people may naturally be charming because they know the right things to say to impress people, to make them laugh, but there's so many ways to be charming, and one of them is to leverage your listening skills, to provide space for others to feel seen, to notice details that others may have missed, and to focus on the quality of the conversation you're having rather than the quantity of people you can talk to. Oprah Winfrey, I'm not confident if she is necessarily an introvert, but she is someone who is a master of listening, and as a result is able to deliver the depth of conversations in the interview that she does. She serves as an incredible example because she highlights the very lesson that sometimes it's not about how many people you can talk to, it's about how deeply you can connect. And to be able to connect in the conversations that you do have, and to have any good conversations, you first need to be a good listener, because that is foundational to everything else. And as an introvert, that is a skill that you naturally possess, giving you an advantage. The next advantage that you have is your ability to focus. Capitalize on it. Introverts recharge in solitude, and it's often in that solitude where characteristics like creativity, self-reflection, and deeper thinking are developed and nurtured. And these qualities hold an incredible amount of value in so many areas of life. Think about it. Being able to focus deeply help you learn and master skills faster, and spending time alone to self-reflect on your thoughts, your feelings, and your goals, it builds higher self-awareness and higher emotional intelligence, which are foundational foundational to being truly confident. This makes your ability to sit in solitude and focus deeply one of the biggest advantages as an introvert, and it'd be a shame to not capitalize on that, especially in a world where it seems like everyone's attention span is getting shorter. Your ability to concentrate gives you literally an unfair advantage. It's why so many creatives, innovators, leaders, and the role models that we look up to throughout history were introverts, because they could block out the noise and pour themselves fully into their work, into their craft. Just take a look at Albert Einstein. He spent so much time in solitude working on his craft, and look at where that got him, to be regarded as one of the greatest minds in history. For you, that could mean studying for school, mastering your hobby, starting a side hustle, or whatever routine that you're building to pour into yourself. Give yourself the chance to get really good at something that means something to you, and in the process of that, you'll even come to realize how charming that can make you. People notice when someone has depth, when they've mastered something that is meaningful to them, and when they carry themselves with confidence that comes from doing the work. And so instead of seeing your need for solitude as pulling away from opportunities, especially social interactions, think of it as the very thing that sets you apart. It is in that solitude where you are quite literally building your own opportunities, proving just how much power you have in your ability to focus, so be sure to use it wisely. But even the best focus can't thrive if your energy is constantly being pulled in every single direction, which leads us to the section on setting boundaries around your energy. There's so many environments, whether in work or in school, where it's designed for more collaborative working with team projects, group brainstorming, and a lot of meetings. And while that constant interactions may energize extroverts and allow them to be more efficient and be more productive, for introverts that can feel very draining. That is why it's important to remind yourself in those moments that needing space and taking the time to recharge isn't a weakness. It's how you do your best thinking and ultimately your best work. Remember Albert Einstein? There's plenty of other examples that highlight the same success derives from the balance of not giving your energy away all the time, having boundaries in place on where you spend your energy, yet are just as successful and are just as memorable. Take a look at Keanu Reeves or Angelina Jolie. They seem to make public appearances only when their work calls for it, but outside of that, they live a more private life where they keep to themselves. They seem to have very strict boundaries around their energy, and yet their presence hold just as much value, if not more, because now it feels rare, and people tend to value what is rare. And so let this be a reminder to not feel bad about taking time to recharge. It's okay to say no, to leave early, or to choose smaller gatherings. Having these boundaries in place to make sure that you're comfortable and you're functioning effectively, it doesn't make you less social. They can actually make your presence feel more intentional and therefore more impactful, because when you do show up fully recharged, you can show up as your best self. But here's the beauty of being an introvert. Just because your natural state may be more quieter or more private, it doesn't mean that you cannot step into a more extroverted self when it serves you, which leads us to the section on channeling extroversion. Because there are certainly times in certain situations where being more extroverted helps. Beyonce is a perfect example of this. She's mentioned in interviews that she is quite shy and likes to keep to herself. She's more of an introvert, but that doesn't sell well on the stage. And so on stage and in her performances, she presents herself as Sasha Fierce, a confident, outgoing character, and we can all see how successful that image was for her. Lady Gaga is another great example of someone who has said that she's naturally shy and introverted, but everything from her performance to her fashion and her style as the quote-unquote Lady Gaga that we know her for is someone that we can agree doesn't fit the typical introverted mold. And for her, channeling this character allowed her to stretch her creativity and allowed her to stand out as a rising artist when no one really knew who she was. And I find these real-life examples to be so incredibly inspiring because they both highlight the power of an alter ego, a persona unique to you that you can channel when you need to. This is totally different from becoming a completely different person to replace who you are. It's about expanding who you are to create a space for you to still appreciate your introverted qualities while also leveraging an alter ego to tap into those extroverted qualities for those moments where it serves you. Being introverted truly is a strength. Your ability to recharge, to focus deeply, observe carefully, and show up intentionally gives you an edge that we simply don't give enough credit to. Growing up, I used to really look up to those who were extroverted because I equated their popularity as being someone who is desired, but I hope this episode can encourage you to learn to appreciate the innate qualities that you have as an introvert as well, because although the qualities may be different, it is just as charming. That's it for today. Be sure to check out the It Girl newsletter for episode recaps and to join in on the conversation and help decide on what to explore next. I hope to see you in our next episode, and in the meantime, as always, stay hot. Bye!